So hello everybody, we welcome you here at the first of the series of sessions, panel discussions at which we will be discussing new and upcoming trends affecting hospitality industry, but not only hospitality industry. We will be discussing trends that actually affect all industries because, as you know, we live in the midst of a digital revolution. So we will explore how the digital revolution affects human culture, human economies, the way we communicate, and the way we create value. So I'd like to welcome our guests today. Alan Mandic from Secret Dalmatia. A well-deserved applause. Alan is one of the visionary travel and hospitality leaders in this country, and as you will see, the whole case for his business is internet technologies. And he is somebody who helped to shape the new luxury tourism that we have in Croatia now. With me here on the left side is Zoran Pejovic, our alumni. Again, a well-deserved applause because Zoran worked in many countries and many hotels all over the world, but Zoran also is the single most responsible person for reshaping the whole hospitality scene of Split that was kind of mummified in the 50s and 60s, I would say, before he came, and now it's a booming and interesting scene. On my right side is Mark Thomas, writer, journalist, I would say also philosopher from Dubrovnik. He also is the honorary British Council, but here he represents himself, not the British Crown. So keep that in mind. We all will. So I'd like to open this discussion with asking Alan about his impressions from. Alan just came back from a conference in Marrakesh called Pure 2014. It's a gathering that gathers hospitality and travel leaders from all over the world. And perhaps, Alan, would you like to tell us what the new definition of luxury is and how you see the latest and new trends?
Yes, I just came back from Marrakesh. That's the place where Pure takes place. This is 6th season. It's the most important travel show and business-to-business meeting for travel industry. We are the only ones from Croatia. It's invitation only, so it's a great honor. Someone really recognized what we are doing and how we're trying to do it differently from the other agencies in Croatia. Of course, we are a small boutique agency. We are no one to compare with big agencies, even in the luxury segment in Croatia, but we try to do it differently.
Alan, what do you do? What do you do for your customers?
I'm a travel designer pretty much. I run a company, there are staff of 6, and we try to promote the heritage, cultural, culinary, and the historic heritage of Croatia, but through people. So basically, I'm not important. It's important that my clients meet my friends, my partners who are presenting the true face of the country and what's important. On Pure, the biggest accent was on how luxury tourism is changing. One of the speakers was talking that it's no longer important that you see that you have a top hotel, that you have a Mercedes car. It's all about conversations and meeting locals. So the people who have everything pretty much in their lives, they need experiences. And experience can only be gathered not by visiting, it's by interacting with locals. So that's the new definition of luxury. That's something that's new shaping up as the scene is changing. We are talking about people who are billionaires and who have everything, and we have to push the envelope for them and make sure that they get entertained, they learn something, and that's our job, and that's how we can only succeed, by giving them something that they cannot have at their homes.
So Alan, so basically these people have everything, and they're not really impressed by high-end hotels anymore.
Not anymore.
Right. So what you offer to them is customized tours.
Yes.
Right? And unusual, off the beaten path experiences.
Yes, quite a few. I'll just start. I can even mention you in a certain way, because you had the opportunity to meet several of my clients. I still remember calling him 2 years ago and asking him, Domago, at 9 p.m. how was it? And he said, what do you mean how was it? They are still here. And it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. people still did not have enough of what a local person can give them. Same with the cooking class in Trogir, which we do with a great local lady in the 13th century palace. She was featured in last May's issue of Savur, and she takes clients to fish market, green market, and they come back to cook at her place. And that's a unique experience, because you don't get to interact and actually live like a local for a day anywhere else. It's not about a guided tour in old town of Dubrovnik. I mean, they can take a book and see it on their own, but that's why they usually ask all sorts of questions if they're genuinely interested. Of course, there are people.
So Alan, so you basically create a network of media, like blog,
yes,
photograph. You have a drone now, right?
Yes.
You sometimes make other media content, and you create a media network by which you present your offer to the client, right? And then through Skype,
yes,
and travel agents custom tailor these unusual, authentic experiences that can again be enhanced by the use of technologies, right?
Exactly. One of my biggest jobs was we got it after the client looked at our blog. I've been writing blog for like 6 years now, and it's about what I enjoy. And then they saw that's an authentic and genuine experience, and that's what they liked. They didn't like anything staged. So if any of you is planning to write a blog, just make it honest. Just write about things that you enjoy, not about something that you think that the client should enjoy. It's not about that. It's about you being yourself. That's how it is.
All right. So here we have somebody who is actually staging authenticity, right? On my left, this is Zoran. Zoran, do you meet these people? Or you meet traditional travelers? Who do you meet in your wine bar, in your fine dining restaurant, in the high-end pastry shop?
Let me just first say hi to my dear colleagues. I graduated ACMT 2004, and now it's RIT Croatia. Well, in our circles we still call it ACMT, and it's always a great honor for me to come back here, always a bit more emotional than if I was speaking somewhere else. And when Domago called me, I said, yeah, fantastic, why not? Yeah, I'm gonna move on now. Domago mentioned earlier that I worked around the world, and after graduating 10 years ago, I had really a pleasure of working in a chance of working in high-end hotels and resorts from United States to China, India, and Montenegro, being on almost all of the seas, and meeting from royalties to all people from all aspects of life. But over the past 10 years, the changes are really fast. And what Alan started talking about authenticity, it's true. People are looking, those who are intrigued by it. So there is a big difference. We have again all sorts of guests who are coming from different parts of life. There are those who are just still there just to take a photo and say, oh, I've been to Paris, I've been to Rome, I've been to Venice, I've been to Dubrovnik, and just tick it off. Alan is lucky enough to be offering such custom designed and personalized tours that most of his guests are actually interested in what he offers. We can't choose our guests. I mean, it's not that he's choosing his guests, but the way he presented, most of his guests are actually interested in what he has to offer. We are not that lucky. Whether before working in the hotel industry or now operating my own restaurants, we don't get to choose our guests, and we get guests from all aspects of life, all areas of life. And I think we have never been experiencing a bigger change in sociology of those guests as we are these days. It's moving rapidly from the people who enjoyed going to the restaurants dressed up in suits, ties, closed shoes, and enjoying a more formal dining experience to those who have a different expectations, who appreciate more casual approach, who appreciate more informal approach. And now this is gonna be this is a task for us. It's gonna be a task for you, for those of you who decide to stay in the industry, in any type of hospitality industry, whether you're gonna be keeping up with some trends from before, because there will be always clientele. There will be always those demanding more formal, more informal, how you're gonna adapt, change,
Alan, I sometimes get calls from your wine bar at odd hours. People call me and they sing songs. And what's going on there? How do you get this atmosphere in Paradox?
Okay, you're now coming up with things, but the difference. What is the difference? Why we have achieved an amazing success with Paradox. After opening, almost 3 months within the opening, we were featured in almost all of the newspapers. Travel agencies were featuring us in their itineraries, and it was not. Now we go back to authenticity and actually the guest wanting to learn more. We offered what most of the other wine bars would offer: first wine, but our selection of wines was authentic. It wasn't commercial. It wasn't something you would find in a supermarket. It was a well-chosen selection of wines from small wineries. But then again, that's again something that somebody else can do. They can just go and pick up wines from small wineries. So we didn't do anything special there. Then we have a nice ambience, but that's again something you pay an architect and he creates a nice he creates a nice decor for you. Boom, you're all set. So again, we didn't do anything special there. The special thing that we did was providing our guests with a bit of education. We are in the entertainment industry. We are entertaining our guests, and it's been like that since forever. People always wanted to be entertained in antique Rome, in antique Greece, in whichever civilization, people wanted to be entertained. Today, even the hospitality industry is in a way entertainment. People want to relax and sit back. But we also provide a bit of education. When they order a glass of wine, we say, would you like to actually experience how diverse the wines in Dalmatia are? And we can offer you to sample 3-4 wines and give you a whole story about Dalmatian winemaking. And then they say, yeah, why not? And then we start with the lighter and then more complex wines, and we move to the reds and we tell the story. Okay, some of the stories you probably know about Crljenak, we tell all these stories, and they leave happy because they learned something. And this is not something they expected or asked for. We simply give it, we provide it.
Look, I'm stalking you all the time on the social media, and I hear people who on TripAdvisor who actually speak about having a great experience of tasting authentic Dalmatian varietals of wine combined with cheese, so there's an educational aspect in it. But these people also, they become your promoters and they lure other people to your place. But also you have a Facebook presence really strong in Split, and those wine tasting events that you organize, they attract a lot of locals, right? And they come in, sometimes they even present their arts or music. So it becomes a successful marriage, if you want, between internet social networks and real social networks that meet together at your place. So how do you
just as we were walking towards the old city, I said that one of the very common questions I get asked from my colleagues from the industry is like, who's running your social media, or who are you paying to? Oh, like it's so well planned, organized, and actually we don't pay anybody. We do it by ourselves. We do it in a way that we feel is right, and it's helping a lot. I mean, you have to understand. You have to understand that for you, I guess it's rather simple. You were born into the era of cell phones and modern communications. But there was a time without cell phones, without smartphones, without a lot of things that are today taken for granted. But a lot of our guests these days, especially what they call millennials, born from 1980 and onwards, this is integral part of their lives. So we really have to combine all these different technological and non-technological ways to approach our guests. So for the younger generations, there is Facebook, there is Foursquare, there is Instagram, there is TripAdvisor as a travel informative website where you can find all sorts of anonymous comments about your places. So there is all, you have to understand all of it. Then there are traditional agencies, so you have to tap. These days, I guess you have to tap into all of them, at least to understand them, and then to make your own choice whether you want to focus on one or the other. But it's important to understand all of them, the traditional and the modern.
I would also make note of the fact that at least it seems to me when I see this new restaurant scene in Split that those restaurants that are not really present in social media are not really present at all. So somehow we need to make sense of this new situation. Mark, I think that you have a very particular view on whether people want authenticity or whether they don't want authenticity. Can you please put some light to this debate?
Yes. These two guys, Zoran and Alan, they're both working on the front line, dealing with tourism. I'm more of a journalist, so I'm looking at it more from the guest perspective. Yes, a common question is, recently in the last 5 years, we want the local experience. We've talked about now we want what is the local experience, and maybe when they see the local experience, it's not what they were looking for. Let's put it that way. I've had guests who, how do you eat? What do you eat? I want to eat like the locals eat. Now these guests have probably lived. Most of our guests in Dubrovnik come from the UK, France, or Germany. And have never seen this Mediterranean way of life. I take them to a restaurant, and speak to the restaurateur and say, okay, they want to eat how we eat. I serve them a fish with a head on the fish, and the next thing is a scream. Can you take the head off? No. Do you want to eat like we eat, or you want to eat some in another way? So yeah, this local experience, we have to be careful what we wish for. Are they ready for this local experience? In many ways, they're not ready for the local experience. As Zoran was saying, he has guests who come to him specifically to catch the local experience. And we had a different story because guests are turning up. We don't choose who comes to visit us. Now in Dubrovnik, around 3 million tourists visit every year, around 1 million from cruise ships. These guests aren't necessarily looking for a local experience. What they are looking for, though, is an experience. You can make, as we were talking about with the wine bar earlier, that wine bar seems to be successful because it's not just about sitting down drinking a glass of wine. It's about an experience. And what do experiences give us, basically? Experiences give us memories. And for me, tourism is all about setting memories, creating memories for them to take home. Who sends a postcard anymore? I think only my parents ever buy a postcard in Dubrovnik. People just don't send postcards anymore. You're on Facebook, you're on the internet, you're sending photos every second. What's the point of sending a postcard? But what a postcard did was produce a memory. And these memories come from experience. We need to work harder. It's not a question of reinventing the wheel. We just need to follow how the tourism trade's going, finding a way to make a normal event, like going to the cinema here today. If you're in the cinema, how can you turn that with lots of imagination, little finance, but a lot more imagination than finance? How can you make that into an experience that they'll remember? What are the experience? What touches you? Things in life touch you, like when you fall in love, that's touching. Emotional things touch you more than physical things. So if you can touch their emotions, touch tourist emotions with an experience, then you've done your job.
So it comes to managing expectations too, right? So how do you prevent somebody from having a shocking experience of what local life is, right?
Yeah, it's a big problem with expectations. people are think about whether, or you can do a research. This might be an interesting question. People who come to Dubrovnik, how many of the big cities have they visited before in the world? I mean, the important one on the list, you know. If you find somebody whose Dubrovnik is the first choice, well, I can imagine that happening, but not likely. All right, for Split, definitely not. So they have already been to Paris, they have been to Rome, they have been to London. So somebody treated them already to a bad meal in Paris, somebody snatched their purse in Rome, somebody, you know, they experienced bad weather in London. So they grow in experience. By the time they come to Dubrovnik, or whatever, Dubrovnik, Split, doesn't matter, they already are, they already have some experience, huh? So you have to be careful there, you know, you have to provide what they pay for. But then also very often they are a little bit not going into details. They don't do a research. They don't understand much about the location. They don't understand much about destination. You know, they might choose to read a bit more about Rome or Paris before coming to Rome or Paris. But coming to Dubrovnik, they might, those who really want, like Alan's guests, they are looking for something authentic. Then they might do a research. A lot of guests just happen, oh, where are we today? Oh, we are in Dubrovnik. All right. And then they go online and they look at TripAdvisor and they read the first two top reviews, and then they might read another blog, and they create their whole expectation based on 2 anonymous reviews and one, or first 3 sentences of an anonymous blog. So this is a challenge for us. We then very easily might not live up to their expectations because the experience of that anonymous TripAdvisor commentator or reviewer might be extremely positive, and they say, this was the best meal in my life. But what is the best meal? In Mark's life, in Domagoy's life, my life, Alan's life. I mean, 3 weeks ago I was dining in Noma in Copenhagen, which was voted 3 times in the last 4 years, 3 times the best restaurant in the world. I don't consider it one of the 10 best dining experiences in my life, you know. But that doesn't mean that it's still not the best restaurant in the world. So it's our expectations. Now a lot of guests and tourists are making easy assumptions. You know, they just, because the information it's easy to access the information, but which information? Even when I was studying, we were using a lot of sources online, and always the professors would say, okay, choose your sources carefully. Don't just take it because it says online that it is true. Doesn't matter. Everybody can put online whatever they want. You have all of these options to write. Whatever is the first thing that comes to your mind doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So it's actually a much bigger job for us to present ourselves better to the world, and also to understand those who are coming and might have wrong expectations about what we are about to offer. So it's sociologically challenging, you know, because of this quick information. But this is the type of life that we live. We all make conclusions just by seeing a headline in the newspapers, just by reading the breaking news on CNN, and you already have an opinion about it without doing the research. So it's also a challenge for the tourism industry, travelers.
So, in other words, technology is a double-edged sword, right? There's also a war on TripAdvisor. People leave negative comments sometimes just to undermine other people, right? And it's really hard to know how people make their impressions or expectations. But I think that Alan's case is particularly telling. Because Alan, you get to know your customers inside out pretty much, sometimes, in some cases, right? You know their expectations because you work with them. Right? And in some cases, you have people who come back, so it's an ongoing relationship. So
Yes.
in your case, the accent is really on using internet technologies as a tool to screen or to get to know your clients, and then to
Pretty much.
personalize tours, and this is how you manage their expectations. Also.
Yeah, well, we have a sort of formula for that. People these days are quite superficial, and it's very difficult to work with many of them. It's like I'm from Zadar, and I don't sell like 3% of my tours don't even go to Zadar. People have their own mindset on certain things. They read about Dubrovnik, they read about Split, they read about Hvar, and they want to see that. They want to see Plitvice too. So it's about 10 days that they give me, we want to see Croatia, and then we try to play with that and steer them our way and show them that there's much more to Croatia than just these destinations. The overall feedback from all of them, and this is crucial, is that they get surprised when they meet locals. So it's us, Croatians, that make a big difference here, and this is what's a big surprise for them, especially because it's very safe in Croatia, it's quite clean, and it's and most of the people speak a very good conversational English, and they can actually pick a good, meaningful conversation, and that's what draws them here, and that's why they have great experience in Croatia.
At the same time, there is a distinction, right? I mean, they have a mental picture about
Yes.
Croatia, and that is Dubrovnik, perhaps Split and Plitvice.
Yes.
And it's really hard to fight that.
No,
Right,
you
because
don't fight it. You don't
yeah,
fight it.
you don't fight it at all
You don't
because
fight
you can't. There is no.
I'm not there to educate. I am in a way that to show that we are more than Game of Thrones. Now people come here, they see Dubrovnik, oh, Game of Thrones. For crying out loud, that's a city with this centuries and millennia of heritage. And when I have on my Facebook, I have 7,100 something friends. Let's go that way. It's all organic. I didn't buy any of them. It grew through years, And when I put picture of Dubrovnik, it's already 200 people like that. If I put something that's minor on Vis or somewhere, maybe 50, 60 people. So people have, they have a general knowledge, and we are here. If we can do it through social media to educate them and show them that there's much more to Croatia than just Dubrovnik and other regions, or show them the true beauty of Dubrovnik, not just the walls and Game of Thrones, then we're making it. Then we succeed in doing something right.
Sorry, can I just comment on the Game of Thrones? It's my favourite serial. I visited New York about 3 years ago, and part of my visit there was asking American, or New Yorkers really, if they knew about what they knew about Croatia. Firstly, if they knew where Croatia was, if they'd ever heard of Croatia. And 60% never heard maybe. And I was sitting in one small cafe bar just off Central Park, and a young waiter served me, and I said to him, have you ever heard of Dubrovnik? This guy's probably 18, 19 student. No. Croatia? No. You sure you've never heard of Dubrovnik? And then he's, King's Landing. You're from King's Landing. He was so excited that I was from Dubrovnik. So I think we need to embrace this. It's basically dropped from the sky from us. It was the first series was filmed in Malta due to an argument in Malta. It basically dropped out of the sky and landed in our laps. I think we need to embrace it. Not only embrace it, make much more of it than we do at the moment. We have an opportunity. I deal lots with foreign businessmen, and I always hear the saying that Croatia is a land of missed opportunities, and we have missed this opportunity. It's a marketing tool that's sent from the heavens. 300 million people watch a serial, and now I've managed to get the attention of an 18, 19-year-old waiter in the middle of New York, and he knows Dubrovnik simply because of this serial. Now, if that at first when he said that to me, I was depressed, like you. I'm thinking, bloody hell. 2,000 years of history, and this cretin knows us because of a series which is 5 years old. At first I was depressed. Then I started to think about it. If there wasn't Game of Thrones, he probably wouldn't have heard of Dubrovnik anyway. He doesn't care about 2,000 years of history. So it's something we need to make. We've literally scratched the surface with Game of Thrones. I know as soon as I put something up, as soon as I write something, as soon as I take a photo, I immediately tag it with a hashtag or King's Landing or Winter is coming, and then you can guarantee you get 5,000 hits. Why not use that? Let's not hide away from that fact here. In fact, let's bring more.
This is actually a good example because,
I agree with you, 100%. And I think that biggest problem with Croatia is that we are not present in popular culture. People don't know anything about us. And that's why the TV series and shows are great for stuff like this. To get their attention, bring them here, and then eventually show them that there's much more to Croatia than Game of Thrones. I'm just saying that we can, like you said, use that opportunity. But it's, it's at the same time, it's upsetting that I take a client to Cliff's Fortress, and she goes nuts because she saw facade that's been changed to match, the new season. She took photos and sharing on Facebook right there on the spot, which is great, but she doesn't know anything about Cliff's Fortress, which is, again, we have to say it's fine because she came here, she spent money, and we have to watch tourism as a business, and then it's fine because we all made money, and that's it.
Okay, we discussed a study in our class, and the study showed that 9 out of 10 likes on Facebook have nothing to do with the content, just with a vague idea. So we don't even know why people like something and how this like is generated. But it shows, that the power of the media and power of the media technology. So somebody somehow made this series, The Game of Thrones, and it felt like rain on us. And now it's here, and we can use it, right, to harvest, to grow our industry, perhaps.
Yes, but we're letting lots of this rain just seep through the pavement. That's right. 90% of this rain is seeping away. We're not using it. Literally within the last year, the Dubrovnik Tourist Board have produced a map of Dubrovnik with the 9 locations, including Trstena. Basically because of pure weight of pressure when they were going to exhibitions and fairs around the world. Because people were saying, oh, that's very nice, Linjum, very nice. Then you have the Game of Thrones. So because of this weight of questions from travel advisors and travel agency, now they produced a map. But coming back to the social media aspect and something that you mentioned about people just read the headlines, yes, I work in journalism, it's very true. How the social media, to a certain extent, has changed journalism. Look at, by far and away, the most popular and the biggest selling newspaper in Croatia is 24, 24. That's by far and away the biggest. Now, just flick through that newspaper and see how much room the headline takes up on a page. The headline takes up half the page. Now it's not that they're just lazy journalists. Well, they are. Maybe they are lazy. I'm not going to that question. It's not that they're just lazy journalists, it's just that they've seen the way that people's psyche has changed. People don't want to read a huge, great, massive text. They want to be able to see in the headline, and you can understand when you see the headlines in that newspaper. You can see the who, what, where, why, and that's what they want to know. Yeah, how can you get a message across on Twitter with 140 characters? People are taking advice from somebody on Twitter, and this guy has to write it in 140 characters. I mean, I can't even sneeze with 140 characters. It's impossible. But people are using those headlines. You look at how the news is presented. Look at Sky News, look at BBC. It's not that you just have the screen anymore of the presenter speaking. What you have is that CNN started that little tachograph that goes across the bottom. And that's basically...
It's always breaking news.
Yeah, that's what you... I mean, you can look at the guy's face, but what you're really doing is reading what's happening on the bottom. So in literally Twitter style, 140 characters, you think that you've got an opinion about that subject. All you know is basically the Reuters kind of facts of that.
So it's about creating impressions, it's about shaping your mind, if you want, and doing it bypassing rational mind, because you need 2 pages, right, to develop an idea, to a logical conclusions, perhaps.
Yeah.
but then nobody's going to read that, right? So, but let's maybe move back a little bit to luxury. Say in the 80s or even in the 90s, it was, say, people would go to a nice hotel, and so air conditioning, that meant luxury, right? And now every day, everybody has an air conditioning unit at home. So is that luxury today, or is it luxury being at the Game of Thrones and then having an authentic experience perhaps, and then sending that picture on Instagram to everybody? Is that the new cool, or maybe the new luxury?
Can I go back a little bit?
No.
Okay, I will. Regardless. No, I need. No, I'm just gonna go back a little bit in history, not back to where we were talking before. Okay, so for us or for you tomorrow, if you're gonna, how many of you think it's gonna stay in the hospitality industry? I can't see past Milena and Zrenka here because they are so beautiful and I'm blinded by the light. How many of you is planning to stay in the travel industry? Okay, so quite a few. All right, fantastic. Okay, so for you, the key is gonna be to understand in the future the market. Once you understand the market, even though you will never fully understand it 100%, but then you can make a conscious decision you're gonna go left or right. Why is it? It was much easier decades ago to talk about these things because the changes were happening much slower. You know, the restaurant industry, for example, dates back to the ancient Greece and ancient Rome. You know, in China we have a constant. We can follow hospitality industry from 10th and 11th century constantly for a millennia, right? But the modern hospitality is attributed somewhere to mid 19th century. You know, and some like restaurants, modern restaurants. We are talking about some big chefs, some big names, Antonin Carême, then Augustus Escoffier. They happened afterwards, and then even a guy who's living today, Paul Bocuse, who has 90-something years and who created the whole concept of haute cuisine. But your target at that time was quite easy to understand. You know, the guests who were coming to fine dining restaurants, they were quite easy to understand because they had expectations, and if you knew what you had to do to meet their expectations. You know, there was a part of aristocracy. It was a part of their lifestyle.
There was a cultural standard.
There was a cultural standard, but also the percentage of these people who could afford to come to the restaurants was much smaller. You know, we were talking about not percentage, but smaller than 1% of people who could afford. And this was part of it. You have to understand, there has to be a social aspect of it. And it had a social aspect. It was an important aspect of it. But today, we have what is 7 billion people, something like that, right? And we actually, as a population, never lived better, whoever thinks. We never lived better than we live today. And there's more and more people that can afford a lot of things. So that's why now best restaurants in the world have a waiting list of 18 months. You know, people are signing up for 18 months in advance to come and dine in a restaurant. So you completely got a different aspect. You don't go there, you take your business partner or your fiancé or girlfriend or something. Well, you know how many girlfriends you're going to change maybe in 18 months by the time you book a table in the restaurant. You know, so it's changed a lot. So there is more and more people who can afford. There is still this clientele that has this culture. Let's go. I don't want to make anybody seem like less important, but who has the restaurant culture, who has, at the end of the day, theater culture, going to theaters, restaurants, enjoying a good glass of wine, having their own small cellar. It's not always connected with money. It's sometimes things are part of our lifestyle. But these days we have a lot of people who can at least afford it once in a while. They might not be your regular guests. And then it's important to understand them and be able to provide at least within certain percentage of their expectations, meet their expectations, you know. So you might have in a restaurant or in a hotel a British guest they still quite enjoy the whole formal dress up, and dining in a restaurant where you have two kids who are in you know, those sportswear and spending thousands of euros. And you have to cater to both of those. 30 years ago, you wouldn't cater to those guests. You know, these guests in a suit wouldn't even sit in a restaurant where these people were not properly dressed because there was a dress code. So you have to cater to both and find your way. And then this is where we then, because then you could define luxury. It was easier to define the luxury. You know, you had to do something with things that you can touch and feel. You know.
Zoran, let me ask you. I mean, in all this confusion, so you have different expectations, different cultures, different lifestyles, all converging together at the same platform, which is your restaurant. Would you or a hotel, and then you have this traffic going on social media. People create sometimes false expectations, sometimes positive, overly positive, sometimes overly negative. It's hard to train the staff to be so knowledgeable and culturally conscious to meet all these different people. So do you think that in the end that quality may suffer in this, or do we have any remedy for this situation?
I think quality will suffer. I think quality will suffer because people they will provide what is expected, and if people expect superficial things, they will provide superficial things, you know. And it's gonna be probably 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 who's gonna try to do something more, you know. Like Alan said, okay, well, let's bring them, or Mark said, okay, we have Game of Thrones, let's bring them because of Game of Thrones and show them something more. But most of this, the easiest thing is, okay, they want to see the sites of Game of Thrones, let's show them the sites of Game of Thrones, take their money and send them on their merry way. So it's, I think that people are going to usually go the easy way, and then we're going to lose the quality. This is my concern. I don't know if it's realistic, but it happened in some other tourist destinations, you know, and then you have to do drastic measures. You know, like in Rome, they said, okay, within the city limits of this much, there is no fast food. So they kicked out all of the fast foods from the center of Rome. Or, I don't know, now I read this morning that in Venice, you're not going to be able anymore to take the carry-on luggage with the plastic wheels because it makes too much noise. Because when there is like 50,000 people wheeling their suitcases, it makes too much noise, and where's the tiles? So then all of a sudden you have to make these drastic measures because it's not experience, you know, like everybody has this imagination of a Venice, of a great romantic place where I don't know, George Clooney just got married and it's everything looking like fantastic and nice, and then you got there and you just hear the noise of suitcases and I don't know, and it's all under the water and it's everything what you did not expect. So, you know, and the quality is nowhere to be found. So if you want to go look for quality, you don't go to Venice. You go, I don't know, even Trieste is better, offering more quality than Venice.
Right, so that is a new definition of luxury destination, Trieste. We used to go there to shop.
Yeah, but now
crappy stuff on Ponte
okay,
Rosso.
But now that whole area of Italy, because maybe sometimes it's easier to talk about something that's not our own. If you talk about Dubrovnik or you talk about Split or something, then you get emotional and you want to fight it and protect it. You know, it's the best, it's the nicest, it's the sunniest, it's everything. But you take an example of some other region and it's easier to discuss it. So you take that whole region and it's a gastronomical and eno-gastronomical whatever heaven. You know, you have people connected everything, winemaking, restaurants, tourism, making they take a thing and they make from it whatever they want. You know, they take olives, they make olive oil, and then they make shampoo, and then they make soap, and then take whatever is left from the.
Because of this connectivity, you have villages in Tuscany that are perhaps more glamorous today than Venice. Right?
Exactly.
So I mean, this fits the new definition of luxury.
Yeah.
And before we invite questions from our audience. I would like to ask the three of you the question. So how do we make sense of this all? Alan, what do you think? What defines luxury for your high-end clients? Because you do cater to those,
Yes.
to the high-end clientele, and they're looking for luxury. So, to put you in the picture, Alan has guests that range from royal houses members to famous opera singers, athletes, actors, whatnot. So, what are these people looking for, and what is the feedback that you get?
Feedback is always great, and especially, like I said, for the people they meet. They want to meet the locals, and they want authentic experience, and that's why they come to us, because we provide series of day trips and different tours that are just planned for them to meet as many locals as they can.
So the value that you create is co-created in interaction between you, between
Exactly.
them, and between the individual service providers, because God knows that you have hundreds of those
Yes.
on
And
the
I
ground. They
yes.
offer different experiences, from making cheese to, I don't know,
Yes, wines and
speleology,
speleology,
to
all sorts of stuff.
right, cooking classes,
Yes. I
private
tried to-
culture tours.
I try to sell, let's put it that way, as many trips as I can, because people want, because that way we are helping out the economy, but in the same way the people want to spend money on something like that. They want to experience local way of life, especially if it's really good and true. They want to spend money. It's not about like a transfer to the hotel and a guided tour of the city. That's not it. Let's push them up. Let's give them something more. That's why we include in Split tour of Old Town of Split, and then wine tasting and delicacy tasting at Paradox.
And then a high-end hotel accommodation.
Usually, even if there's a 5-star client, we put them at Palace Judita in the Old Town because they want to see the authentic experience,
All
and
right.
that's right there in the center. So don't be afraid and think that Croatia does not have anything to sell or give to those clients. It's us. It's all of us are here. And one of the nicest feedback was back in April, when a British client came to me, a very young fellow, said, "You have a great group of ambassadors of Croatia working for you." See, every single one of us has to be proud of our heritage and culture and everything, and that shows. And they want to pay for that. They want to pay. They want to give money for a holiday of that sort.
So in your business case, there's great value, because I mean these customized tours are not cheap, right?
They can't be cheap.
They can't be cheap. So and so there's great financial value in this also
For all of us involved.
for all of you involved. So
Yes.
go and see Alan's car. You'll be put in the picture immediately. And Alan, how many people do you employ?
I have 6 employees.
So small firm, co-creating enormous value for everybody involved, right? From the the service providers on the ground, and
Yes.
and your employees, for travelers, everybody is happy, and it's all powered by
Exactly.
inventive use of media technologies and establishing relationships. Because in your case, I think, at least, the accent is on relationship, right?
Absolutely.
And you have a personal relationship with, or your travel agents have personal relations with their clients and with the service
Yes,
providers.
90% of my
And everything is personalized.
that my clients meet are my personal friends.
So in your case, this is the definition of luxury, and it's confirmed by the market. So at least we can take it, at least that in this niche, it's something objective. It's something that materializes.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Mark, so does that answer the conundrum, at least a little bit, for the new definition of luxury? How we can bridge the gap between authenticity and globalism, if you want, or does Alan provide at least a good answer or a good path toward?
His main point that I picked up, and I hear this very often, is that tourists want to spend money. They really, 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 really want to spend money. I mean, they really do. They come with a budget to spend, and they don't. 9 times out of 10, they don't. Now that's not their problem that they didn't spend the money, because they really want to get rid of this money. This is money that they didn't plan to take.
We need to present ourselves better, right? It's about presentation.
Yes,
it's about information. It's about
it's about branding. If we have the brand already, we just don't know how to sell it very well. I met an Indian businessman a couple of days ago. Now this man has just come to Dubrovnik for the first time, and I met him on the second day. This guy's travelled all over the world. He's actually the president of the Croatian South Asian Business Forum. I never knew that we had one, but we do apparently. And he's never been to Dubrovnik before. And the second day to me, he said to me, "You know what? This is a place to make love, not to have sex." And that for me, in how he picked up on that romantic soul and heart of Dubrovnik in less than 24 hours.
If you want that, that's fine.
Yes, how? No, he said this is not a place, this is a place that you make love in, this is a place of violins. And he picked this up in 24 hours. Now, it was a question of, he obviously hadn't picked this, he didn't have his opinion before he came to Dubrovnik. This is an opinion that he's got whilst here. So we need to be able to, if we can't sell ourselves well enough as a brand, then we need to be able to just bring people here, any form, any way, and let Dubrovnik sell itself for them.
But don't you think that today, because we have these media technologies now, we can make videos, we can make podcasts, we can post them on YouTube, we can use Instagram. Everybody has a photograph, a camera. Alan has a drone, right? I mean, can we not make better effort of making us a brand?
Of course we can, but we're not alone. Globalization made the world very small. The online media made the world very small, so we're not just competing in a printed brochure for other destinations in Southeast Europe, we're now competing with the whole world. And it seems that competition at the moment is maybe a little too strong for us.
Right, so so you think that we need to put more effort into gaining knowledge about customers and about what drives successful operations today?
Absolutely. If I said to a group of people from completely different demographics, if I just said one word, and what's the first thing that comes into your head? If I said Monaco, they'd think money immediately.
Right.
If I said Cannes, they'd think film festival. If I said Paris, they'd think love. If I said Italy, they'd think maybe the film Roman Holiday. Now, if you said Dubrovnik to these 100 people, what would the answer be?
Game of Thrones.
I just heard from the front row, Cevapcici.
Cevapcici.
What would be the first word? Collect 100 tourists, 100 people who've never been here before, 100 people who might have just seen old adverts for Yugo tours on the television. Dubrovnik, and then just get the first word they say back, and that's branding.
Maybe the people who like Cevapcici, that is our niche. Right?
Okay, that's not bad.
You know,
if we want to go that way, let's go that way, but let's go all in.
right.
Let's not hang around.
Make a joke but also to drive the point back home, because this subconscious picture that people have, right?
Yes.
So the Cevapcici lovers will like Dubrovnik on Facebook because they will not, because it is this psychological idea that they have about Dubrovnik will make them like Dubrovnik, not the content that we put. And now the challenge is, how do we make that, how do we change that picture, right?
Yes.
And I think that media technologies, they bring an opportunity for this. But as you say, other people are working hard.
Harder.
Right? Harder. And then in spite of the beauties and the riches that we have over here, we are being squeezed out from this emotional, psychological picture of what a desirable, luxury, glamorous location is.
Yes, we're basically living from a destination that me, you, and nobody in this audience had anything to do with. You can say that Angelina Jolie's beautiful, but it's not her fault.
Right, and the end result is that today we want to have a dinner in the old town, and we can't.
Yes.
This is what it boils down to. And you said to me in a conversation the other day, if Ford would shut down and make no cars 6 months a year, they'd go under.
Yes, what we have to get. This is another conversation.
We shut down here in Dubrovnik, or in Split. In Split, actually, they had Diocletian closing the tourist season in the beginning of September. it was a ritual by which they, and then everybody left, of course.
Yes, the key word is tourism. It's not just tourism. The actual full word is or Nazif, I can't think of English now, but the full name for it is the tourism industry. Nowhere does it say tourism hobby. It's an industry. You tell me one industry in the world, I mentioned 4 to you, that could work for 6 months and then 6 months put their arms behind their back and rest. That for me is not an industry. It's a hobby. You can't work for 6 months. And the main problem is probably our problem. There's lots of different forms of tourism. There's cultural tourism, sports tourism. Look at Barcelona. There's all these different forms of tourism, but we concentrate solely and bang the same drum in Dubrovnik, and it's just summer seasonal tourism. We're banging a drum that we've been banging for the last 30 years, and maybe this form of tourism is not in anymore. You know, it's much easier. I was looking through the archives. We're talking about how luxury tourism. I was looking through the archives of Dubrovački Vjesnik a few weeks ago, and I found an advert for Hotel Petka. No, sorry, Hotel Larpad. It was Hotel Larpad from 1972. And no word of a lie, this advert read, 4-star Hotel Petka. And the biggest headline underneath that was, hot and cold running water.
Right. That was a
like,
definition
whoa,
of
we've got hot water, by
Yeah.
the way.
Cool.
I've got to come, you've got hot water? I'm coming.
Yeah.
So this is like 40 years ago. It's relatively recent past, 1970s, early 70s. The main line of the advert was hot and cold running water.
Right, so I'd like to give Zoran an opportunity to finish this stage authenticity that we have here. And because we maybe need a change in paradigm, and your new restaurant is called Paradigma, and it's a fine dining restaurant, and it's supposed to be a luxury.
Yeah, so we need to change the paradigm, the things that happen because they're happening on their own. You know, we need to keep working on ourselves, we need to keep working on people, we need to keep, because who's going to provide this authenticity if not people? So if we don't have people, then there is no authenticity. How often have you found yourself going into a restaurant and then, you know, it's like, oh, you even tell your friends it's a tourist trap, don't go there, it's just for tourists, all right? And then when I tell this to somebody, they say, oh, but they have the same thing in Rome. Yes, but in Rome they can get away with it. You know, there is one Rome. People are gonna probably come to Rome forever.
And
you
the
know,
Pope is there. So
and the Pope is there. There is too many reasons. There is too many reasons why you can get away with this in Rome, but you can't get away with this in small places like Dubrovnik, like Split. You know, you need. I was just recently, on this trip in last month. I was in Alsace, in France. You know, I've been to 2 small places called Exeheim and Rikkeweer. Probably places you've never heard of. They have more Michelin star restaurants per head than almost, I think, more than any other place in the world. Because these are villages of a couple of thousand people, and then every second restaurant is a Michelin star restaurant. But it's not about Michelin star restaurants. Whichever place I went to, I felt good. A small bar, a wine bar, whatever. It felt right. You know, I would ask a question about wine. What am I drinking now? And they would say, yeah, this Pinot Blanc, or this Riesling from this blah blah blah, this winemaker, and it's organic. You know, just try it out for yourself. Do a research. Go to a place. Go to a bar, a restaurant. Order something. Order food. Order a glass of wine. And then ask the waiter, tell me something about this wine, or tell me something about this food. And 99 out of 100, they will not know what they are serving. But at the end of the day, it's not their problem. It's the problem of whoever is running that operation. You know? So that's why when you go to TripAdvisor, for example, and you look at comments for Wine and Cheese Bar Paradox, almost, I wouldn't say 50%, but a little bit close to 50% of comments mention a name and says, Goran was amazing, or Marko provided it was extremely helpful, or Ivan did great job, or Josip, or Mladen, or Rocco. So, and then they actually name person, and we don't have name tags. So imagine how it would be if there was name tags. We don't have name tags, so they had such a great experience that they asked the person, what's your name? And they write it down, and when they go back home, they take their time to write down, Goran was amazing. But Goran wouldn't be amazing if he didn't know what he was talking about. You know, so just do a test for yourself. Go to a restaurant again, go to a bar. When you order something, just ask a question about it, and you will see that this is what Mark said. There are those who do it better and harder. They work harder. You know, you then compare these experiences. Go to Tuscany, go to Alsace. I'm not saying explicitly not saying go to Venice, go to Santorini, go to Sorrento, go to these places, but go to more authentic places. And then you ask, what is the wine that I'm drinking? And when they go blah blah blah, oh, then you go, oh, thanks, fantastic, it's an amazing wine. You know how many guests we get at Paradox who say, well, it's a shame that you don't have good wine in Croatia. You know, and then we say, don't worry, we'll prove you wrong. And then we prove them wrong. But how many guests never get to come to Paradox and live with thinking that we have bad wine, because we sell very often bad wine. We sell very often bad food. We sell very often food that we bake that we prepare in the winter and then just heat it in the summer. You know, and somebody needs to. So this is a different aspect. We were talking about luxury. Now we are talking about what we provide, whether we meet that luxury. You know, it's the other way around. Because if the modern luxury is the conversation, what Alan said, if it is the people, if it is the experience, if it is the intangible, if it is the memory, if it is the emotion, then there has to be somebody to provide it. And if there is nobody to provide it, then you know, you can forget about any form of luxury. That's why luxury was easier before. You just have a golden spoon and it's luxury. You know, it was easier to detect luxury. It was easier to say, wow, that's something of value. Now, when it's intangible, it's hard to point a value to it, and it's only people who deliver it. That's why it's extremely important to educate these people. And then, but again, people, if they are not, you know, I'm never happy when I see in Dubrovnik it's not people from Dubrovnik working. Not because it's not good that somebody else comes and makes money, but they will never talk about their own city with the same passion as somebody from the side. You know, that's why it's important to involve people, locals, then they can provide local experience. I mean, it takes years, like for Mark, 15 years, then he's now local. But somebody who comes just for 3 months, then they have a different mindset. Okay, 3 months work, go home, bye-bye. You know, all right.
So, thank you, Zoran, for giving the right wrap-up, I would say, to our discussion. And I'd like to invite questions from the audience, if there are any. Yes, Professor Kuznin.
Thank you. Everybody is still alive and kicking? Okay. My wife, do you need the mic? No, I don't like to leave the mic. You might avoid it, please. I don't know who to look. I apologize. So I will maybe turn my back to the camera, or if I can to the technology for this point in time. All of our guest speakers spoke and wanted to speak about authenticity. So since I am an academic, I would like to share what I know about authenticity from my mother's dinner. So when my mom cooks a dinner and she says we are having guests, this is what she does. And I'm happy when we have guests. Why? Because Mark will understand. My mom is true to herself. She will cook a dinner. But is it what it is? A regular dinner? It is not. Because when we have a regular dinner, it's usually left over from the lunch. But when we have guests, it's a 3-course pack of meal. So is she authentic? Yes, but not real. She is fake real. I did not invent this, ladies and gentlemen. This is from Pine and Gilmore, and my students will recognize. This is a matrix. Fake real, real fake. And where do you want to be? So what is authenticity is the question, ladies and gentlemen. The authenticity can be staged. Walt Disney made a fortune out of staging an authentic event. It's not real. If anything, it's fake real. So how Dubrovnik wants to sell themselves? How do you sell yourself? Are you true to who you are? And are you true to what you think you are designed for? So that's the true question. Real can only, I guess, be the new definition of luxury. And only a few can achieve real. My mom is a fake real, trust me.
I agree with you, but I agree with you, but you can't expect someone who comes here for a couple of days to go into such a depth. Let's give them something that it's from the wine tours and cooking classes. Like it's very difficult. I understand your point. We don't have to be that way. But I had clients who were coming here for 4 years in a row from US, and they wanted to see real Croatia. Not everyone wants to do that. And what am I to do? Just to say, okay, this is not real. I don't want to stage it, and I go out of business. And none of my people can work that way. Like I have a winemaker in Prešac who's been 500 years. His family's been making wine for 500 years. It's impressive, especially for Americans who come there and see that. And it is an authentic tour because this guy lives by showing his vineyard. It's not real that a winemaker shows his vineyard. So, I mean, we can just assume if travel business is business or it's not. It's just me showing around as being pretty much ethnologist and then showing them what real Croatia is. I took my clients squid jigging. I do that in my free time, and that's authentic. I took him to my uncle who's been preparing food for himself and ourselves, and ourselves at that time. But it's we have to differentiate and see if we want to really do the business or we want to just and do it as the best that we can, or just be like true to ourselves and say, okay, this is not real, and let's just close the shop and move on. I think that's we have to make a certain decisions in that process and just understand that what travel business really is. Is that a business or it's just traveling on their own like a backpackers will go and just say we have an amazing thing. I have my biggest client agent that works with them that's an agent called Based on a True Story from UK. That guy slept 5 years ago under the walls of Sveti Ivan in Dubrovnik. Now he sleeps in Royal Mansour in Marrakesh, 1,200 euros a night. Best hotel in the world. That's just his way of life. Next year he said, I might be just a truck driver. People change, things change, opinions change, but being real for someone is sleeping under the walls of Dubrovnik, in the night, or sleeping at Royal Mansour in Marrakesh for 200 years. That's it's different. And someone, a typical guest for us is an American client, well-traveled, educated, really interesting people who've been around the world. And when they come here, they find us far more authentic than anyone else. And they tell me, the Croatia is far more authentic than Italy will ever be. And still, I understand the point, and I want to keep it real. I want to keep it not staged, but yes, keep it real. But I want to provide these people with great experiences, but at the same time, I want to have them in a, let's say, safe environment, like we discussed. I don't want to serve them tripe if I know that they might freak out, but we're going to serve them seafood and several things that we also eat. So I think I do that.
Zeka, I'll just add quickly to Alan's. To answer to Milena. I don't think that tourism can ever be real. We have to work within certain parameters. Real is for explorers. Colombo, when he discovered America, that was real. When I was 15 days in Tibet, that was real because there was no tourism. I mean, yeah, I was a traveler, but I've been to a place. I was taken to a place where a monastery that they said they've never seen a white person before. Well, I told them I'm a red person, so they did. But so to add that to the experience. So real is something that's not even this. It's very difficult, as you said. Is it real? Like your mom is now going out of her way to do something that is not real. So real is really difficult. But our real has to be within certain parameters of function, you know, business again, industry.
I have a very good one. I'm not absolutely an expert in hospitality. I'm more like a language person, okay? But I've been listening, and I noticed one thing, and I want somebody to confirm this. This is a question or comment. We can take both things. So, what is the most important factor that drives the success in tourism, as I see? People, passion. I don't know, but if we talk about your success, you are successful because you chose people who can transfer their passion, whatever they do, okay, and sell it. On the other hand, we have Zoran, who is successful. Why? Because he's also passionate in what he does, and he chose passionate people who can also transmit their passion in even the most simple things, okay, they do. And it looks like just a simple waiter, I'm sorry for the term, and saying like, just you bring the wine and say not simple things that nobody expects. Why is he saying those things? Because he's passionate about things. He likes those things, and he's going to transmit the passion. And I think that even you said something. I mean, we were talking about Games of Thrones and how we can use that. And what we can do, but underneath it was a passion to reveal some other things. So if we do not educate people, my comment is to nurture their passion towards and allow them to work the heritage of who we are and what we are, we cannot sell anything. We cannot, I believe, what we are talking about luxury. Luxury is all around us, but if it's not in us, we can't sell it. Sorry.
Yes, without a doubt, people are the key to successful tourism, and the interaction of tourists with people in this country are the key. But it was a bit sad to me that about 5 or 6 years ago we had to have a national advert on Croatian television from the Croatian National Tourist Board reminding people to smile. That for me is, you know, that shows the starting point when they're showing people at the customs, people in the restaurants, and the whole message was, don't forget to smile. I'm not going to swear, but they should be smiling already. I mean, that's the least you can ask for is a smile. If you can't get a smile, then there's not even a spark of passion. And when you can see somebody who's serving, you know, the Martin Luther King speech, when if you're going to be a dustman, be the best dustman in the world. If you're going to be a teacher, be the best teacher in the world. That passion of doing your job, people can see that in a second. Believe me. Don't think that these tourists are blind. They don't understand the language, and that makes their senses towards other things like body language even keener. My parents and many tourists that I'm with people watch on the Stradon. They people watch like we do. And okay, they hear the Croatians speak. We tend to speak louder most of the time. They think we're having an argument. Probably we're just talking about the football or the rain. But their eye for body language. So they're dealing with somebody. They're dealing with somebody in a restaurant, in a hotel, and that person for them at that moment in time is the most important person in the world, because that person is going to solve what they want done. And we have a problem about, this was mentioned to me the other day, we find it too easy to say no. We need to make it easier to say yes. We need to find a way of saying yes. We might be saying no, but we need to convey that we're trying to say yes. How many times do you hear, I mean, I don't like any adverts or I've got quite an eye for marketing, and I don't like any adverts that have any negations of any sort. Natural, ne može, all of this for me is just, don't give me any negatives word. I only want to hear something positive. Because if you're talking negative about yourself and about your destination, then what message is that relaying to me? So yes, people are the key. But if you've got to teach them to smile, then we've got a long way to go.
Thank you, Mark. Alexa, oh, Vesna.
Yes, I can be a bit loud.
Okay, I'm sure you can.
You know that. I have a want to experience Croatia, but you only mentioned Split and Dubrovnik. What about the rest of Croatia? I mean, there is a lot to offer on the north and on the east.
No, we are just talking from our own experiences. This is not, for me, panel was not about Croatia as a tourist destination. We are just giving an example. I'm talking about Split because I can talk about Split. I've been living in Split and helping reshape the scene, and I have seen how it changed for positive, for better, for worse in the last 3 years. So I can't comment on anything. Of course, there is so much to show, but let's be clear on one thing. I've had the chance to visit 66 countries in the world. All right, all continents. And there are amazing places to see in the world, you know, amazing. And as long as we think this is the most beautiful, this is the most this, the most that, whatever, forget it. We are not gonna get anywhere. All right. I've been to New Zealand where they were shooting the Lord of the Rings, you know. So forget now about this. What is this, Game of Thrones? You know, those sounds, the fjords. It really looks amazing. Been to Vietnam. You know, Halong Bay, one of the most amazing places I've ever seen in my life. But Plitvice Lake, one of the most amazing places I've seen in my life. But when a company I worked for previously, Aman Resorts, tried to open a hotel and asked opportunity to open a hotel in Plitvice Lake, was, oh no, it's a national park. And they went to China and they opened 3 hotels in 3 national parks. All right, and it was respectful to the nature, to the culture. I was helping opening a hotel in Hangzhou near Shanghai, where we were located between the 2 temples, and they were. So this is about authenticity. Is it real, fake, real? I don't know. You name it, whatever you want. But there is 500 monks each morning, because you have a morning bell and an evening drum. So morning bells is a wake up and a morning prayer, and then evening drum is a evening prayer and then going to sleep. Where these 500 monks are passing every day through our hotel. I mean, our hotel was like a little village. This is authentic. I mean, they were passing there before. Now there is just 50 rooms around, people living in it. And we would, first time when somebody makes a reservation, a booking for the hotel, we would say, well, you have to note, there is no TVs in our rooms, there is no radios in our rooms. You are not allowed to bring a radio or any type of music other than iPod and the headphones. You're not allowed. We give regulations to our guests. You're not allowed to make noise. We have to respect these 500 monks who are passing through. All right. So, and that's I would say, for me, it doesn't get much more real than that, you know. Yeah, but again, somebody can say it's staged because we are around it, and it's, you know, you're not just sitting there in the corner and experience it as an innocent bystander. You're paying over 1,000 euros for a night in the hotel.
I would also say that, you know, I think that we all want to be spared from some aspects of reality. And I think it is what we do every day.
It's how you define what we
right. You know, it's how we define it. It gets to the definition.
True to what is said is true. Starbucks is real. You understand? Starbucks defines reality. It's a third place after home and work. It is what it is, and it's representing what they want to represent.
I hear you.
Everything experience.
Yeah.
Definition of reality, definition of luxury is what makes it real.
And, this is good coffee experience, because to which part of the history you want to go back and say this is the way it was enjoyed properly. Starbucks is now part of history. You know, in Split we have a lot of people asking for Riva to be changed back to the way it was. You know, and Marco, my friend and partner who also studied, business partner who studied here, he always says, and which life partner, At which point of history you want us to bring the river back? You want it back with buses? You want it back with boats before? You want it back to the way it was when it was Diocletian's? You want it back before Diocletian? You know, like, same with this. Yeah, I agree. Starbucks is, because it's already been existing, it's already history. We can't say, oh, it's not real. It's not real how the coffee is drunk in, I don't know, Greece or Turkey, because this is the way it's supposed to be. No? Yeah, we have a question.
Right, we have a question from Nicolin.
I wanted to ask, you're talking about the authenticity. Do you think that authenticity has an expiration date? Especially in this globalized world where we can probably say it's being Americanized world, and as Mr. Mr. Mandic was saying about the US customers that he's having and how they said that Italy is no longer authentic. Croatia is, but is it because Croatia hasn't hit the mainstream? The Italy is being so overexposed, French wines are being overexposed, so we are authentic because we are not.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the main what they're saying. We are not yet. We are still not proper industry. We are still not mass. That's not mass production of those things like cooking class in Italy. That's my glass, of course. I have to. Yeah, I have a small boutique agency, and I have most of my clients are Americans, so I can talk only from my perspective. That's what I see. I mean, they've been to Italy, they've been to France, and they see that everything is very commercialized, and we don't have that. They still go to Tatiana, my friend in Droge that cooks with them, and the problem there is that she cannot chase them out. Usually that class has like, you start at 9, you leave at 1. With her, some people stay at 7 p.m. playing guitar and talking to her, you know, and they enjoy it, and she enjoyed it. So I'm trying to give that, you know, that smile, like Mark said, and I'm trying to give all sorts of things that you cannot really put a price tag on. Around the world, you have the experience that, like in Italy, there's 40 euro extra if you want to do the market walk. Here it's not. It's everything's included because that's part of cooking. It's shopping at the market, green market, fish market, and everything else. So I think that expiration date. Once we start behaving that way, once we start charging for everything, then we have expired. I think that's a good thing to think about, and I think I will not move in that direction, of course. I will try to keep it as authentic as it can be, and to provide my clients with really relaxing and unique experience in Croatia.
But Alan, maybe just to build on what Nicolina said. So in this world that is becoming decentralized, we have Airbnb that is worth more than Hyatt Corporation, right? And according to some, the new definition of luxury is not about staying in Hyatt. It's about finding your mate through Airbnb. Okay. Do you think that this is going to maybe prolong the expiry date on authenticity, or do you think that, that everything will be corporatized and one standard globalized, or globalization will mean different aspects will be allowed or possible to coexist in interaction?
There will be. There are always niches that you can tap into and start working in a niche. I mean, you can just do, like people do gay travel, like people do food travel, like I do, like I'm trying to do like small private tours in Croatia. And the thing with us is that we have to fight far more for the client, and like I won't say that we succeeded. We came to certain levels, but every client is a battle. You know, every client needs our full attention while planning, while executing in Croatia, and then a feedback, everything. That's very important for us. I don't think it's. There is room for all of us. I mean, there's room for people who want to travel on a bus, and there's room for us who want to do like really unique experience in Croatia. So I think I don't think that there will be an expiry date, but there will be something that's something to consider if I want to move into a different level of service, and then just have everything marked down and have separate prices for all sorts of services.
Just 2 sentences. I don't think there can be an expiration date if it is people. Okay, so as long as there is people with passion, then there is no expiration date. Because we are not selling the experience from 19th century. We are not selling experience from 18th century. Because then in 22nd century, we might say we are selling experience from 21st century. So if you are looking at authenticity as the way life was before, we can always go and say, oh, it wasn't great. Guys, it wasn't great. Okay, you know, it's a history of wars, it's history of poverty, it's history of a lot of myths, and I mean, we are not selling that. We are selling authenticity is passion. It's a person telling you a thing about food, about wine, telling you a thing about, again, history, but it's not history itself, it's the person telling that history that conveys the message. Because today knowledge is cheap. You go online and buy a book, you go to YouTube and you can take a guided tour of Dubrovnik online. You can get a 360 view of anything. And you can say, I've been there because you've seen it. But it's the person who delivers it is the authenticity.
And technologies do give an opportunity for even little players to get involved. Airbnb, I mean, you can search people in Dizmo offering accommodation through Airbnb and doing it successfully. Right? I mean, I'm serious. In Grubine, in very remote villages, I mean, people through using technologies, they have a way of presenting their point of view, their lifestyle, and perhaps attracting people who would come to visit them. And so maybe a farm, a goat farm in Arjano can attract people who actually want to come visit and also buy food and other products. So technology is providing us also a tools which can help us to preserve our culture. So it's not only a threat, it's also a tool of preservation.
Yes, I just want to add to your point. You said that maybe parts of Spain and France are not authentic anymore, and going to Rome, you don't have the authentic Rome, you have the Pope, yeah, but you have an authentic Roman experience. It seems to me it's a bit of a question there between authenticity and being underdeveloped. Are you saying that because we're underdeveloped, we're authentic? So are you saying now that the most authentic place in the world is probably in the middle of Africa? I mean, yes, we are underdeveloped, but because we're undeveloped, it doesn't mean we have to sell that as being authentic. Yes, of course, people have been. People have been to these places before. They've seen them 2 or 3 times before, and we banged a drum about this. The Mediterranean as it once was. What was it like before? Do we really want it like it was before? I'm not sure. We want that view. Do you want to visit a place like it was before? I'm not sure. I mean, I was born and bred in London, educated in London, and what's a traditional London experience? I've got no bloody idea what a traditional London experience is. People come, tourists come, mainly Americans, Japanese, they want to see the Bobbies, they want to see the Queen. You've got no chance of seeing the Queen. They want to see Buckingham Palace, they want to see Carnaby Street, Chelsea Football Club, they want to go shopping in Harrods. This for them is the authentic London experience. I lived there for almost 30 years, I didn't do any of these things. I'd never been in Big Ben, I've never been on the London Eye. Londoners just don't do that. That's, for us, tacky, and it's just not something we do. So, but that's how they developed. That's how they developed their brand, and that's how they made the London authentic experience. So, yeah, we have to be a little bit careful what we wish for. Do we want to be the middle of Africa, or do we want to be Rome? Where's the middle ground? Yeah.
It's an excellent point. Vesna, do you want to say something?
Well, I earlier actually wanted to tie into what Mark was saying about how depressing it is that you have to be reminded to smile, and really in Croatia. I mean, I really don't think tourism can ever be real. Amongst other things, I'm a tour guide.
Don't say that. I'm sorry, I was quoting the authors of...
I'm just referring to what you said, nothing personal. No, I'm kidding. But the thing is, all No, but amongst other things, I'm a tour guide. And now, do the guests expect real experience? Yes. I get a lot of guests who come from mainly United States or English-speaking areas. And some of them interrupt me in the middle of history and they're like, no, like, what do you do for a living? Where does your child go? Your mother is retired. What's retirement like in Croatia? So they want to get the actual information about my life. But when I get up in the morning, if I'm in a bad mood, do they want to see that? No. They're not, really, 2 days out of 7 in the summer when it's 40 degrees, we're on the city walls at noon, am I in a good mood? Not really. I'm like, why didn't you research this? Like you go in the morning or in the afternoon. Can you tell them this? No. Can you let them think this? No. You have to behave like this is a super idea because this is the Adriatic sun and this is wonderful. You actually get a lot of it because, you come from somewhere else where there's not so much sun. So can you be 100% real? No. Because, there is still one thing we mentioned in vague terms, the customer service. And this is still a part of tourism that's not a part of, this is the thing when you have guests for dinner, customer service. Whereas when you have a home meal, it's like, well, suit yourselves, you know where the restaurants are. But you also mentioned Walt Disney World. And I had the pleasure of doing the co-op in Walt Disney World for 1 year in Florida. Now, Walt Disney World in Florida employs 55,000 people. That's larger than the Dubrovnik population with the villages around it. So these people come from probably every country in the world. I could work personally with Japanese, Korean, Ecuador, Puerto Ricans, Americans, Dutch. This was ended Mickey Mouse, but the thing is, you have cultures which are, completely opposite. And the thing is with Disney is, fake. It's a fake world built upon marshland, but it's a bulletproof experience. When they train you, they literally brainwash you. Like, they don't call their employees, they are cast members. Because when you come to work, you are on stage. Guests have come here for an experience, and your job is to provide the experience. So, yes, you're acting in a way. This is why I think that real is tough with tourism, because there is an expectation of at least a good disposition to begin with. But in Disney, it's depressing that you have to be reminded. But the thing with smiling is that they remind you constantly. There is always somebody. If you, like body language, there is body language and looks. There is a particular book called Disney Look, which defines exactly how can a man's beard be shaved, what kind of sideburns you can have, what kind of hairstyle you can wear. Like you can have braided hair only if it's related to your culture. So if you come from Central America, yes, or the Caribbean, you can have braided hair. But if you come from Croatia, no. It's not a part of your culture. And your managers, your colleagues, your trainers, for example, your trainers work with you for the first, I work in a shop, so not really, it requires you to operate the cash register, to stock the shelves, to communicate with guests, so it's not really like high intellectual work. But your trainer trains you for 2 weeks, and then remains at your disposal and follows you, literally monitors you for a period of 6 months. And even later, if you have an issue, you can get back to them. But if they see you standing like this, somebody, whether it's going to be your colleague or, well, it's best when it's your colleague, because managers have disciplinary things, but they will remind you to stand like this. Somebody will pass by, they will tell you smile, So, for me, coming from Croatia, it was a little bit too much. It's just like, but guests stay for years to take their families to Disney. These are not cheap vacations. These are very, very expensive. 7 days for a family of 4, easily $10,000. So, this is real money. And this is why they train their staff. So I think one thing in Croatia also is about everybody taking responsibility to nudge each other, because we're very much into, when I go to a cafe bar and the waiter is in a bad mood or something, I'm reluctant get into it because I'm going about my day. But I think it's also about sort of the majority of taking the responsibility for reminding each other that, you know, this is kind of, taking Dubrovnik, this is the only industry. It's not one of the few and the biggest, it's the only industry. So these things are, I think, should be taken as depressing as it may be, but in Disney now it's become a standard that just sort of rolls on its own, but it took like 50 years of reminding.
Thank you, Wesley.
Okay, when you are, did you have to make like case scenarios where you're making your own company for any of the subjects? You had probably, yeah? So then you start from the top, right? You have executive director or general manager or managing director or whatever you name it. And then if I would ask you what would be the next 2-3 persons in line that you would hire first if you were at the head of this company, who would you hire? You know, I'll just give you my example. So I'm running the operations. My business partner, he's running the financial part. We have somebody who's doing sales and marketing. And then the fourth person is the training manager. Okay, this summer we have 50 employees. If you find another company with less than 50 employees in Croatia who has a training manager, I give everything I have to whoever, whatever. It doesn't exist. We have training managers, all right? Somebody full-time salary training manager. Okay, we provide it to others because we don't have full-time need for a training manager, so we actually sell this service to others. But we have a full-time training manager. You know, so this is what Vesna was saying. You know, we need to work on education.
Okay. But I think it's also I think it's also the definition of luxury of providing a standardized service. Because we were all talking about this authenticity that you don't shape in a box. You can't put it in a box, and two people will probably not have the same experience with this authenticity. It doesn't get more fake than, as we said, than Disney. Is it a luxury experience? Yes, it is. It's a hell of a luxury experience. You pay like $300 or $400 a day just to be there. Is it less valued, or is it, you know, less value than the authentic experience? I don't think it is.
No,
so I think it's about niches. Exactly. It's about niches. It's about what your customer wants. I think today, yes, there is a trend that people want authentic experience. But I completely agree with Mark. Bring them a fish with the head on, they'll scream. They don't want to have an authentic experience. They think they want to have it, but not really. Yes, I want to have local food, but I want it to be international, really. I want the taste to be familiar. There will always be explorers. There will always be people who want to try something new. But I think we have far more people, even today, that want to have something familiar and with a certain level of service that not below.
A good book to read on this, if you're interested, is called The Tipping Point. I don't know if you had a chance to read this, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, this was part of the curriculum, is it? You would?
I don't know, but I never know.
Okay, because it says about 5% of those who are always ready to explore, 5% of those who are never going to try, and then the 90% in the middle that you actually have to tap into because you don't live from the first 5%.
Right, as we need to wrap up this event because we will be kicked out very soon, I'd like to conclude with something that because we live in this day and age of tremendous and rapid change, we need a new frame of reference for value creation. And so what is value today? I mean, does it come from does authentic mean primitive, really, or reactionary? Or authentic means living in the present and being part of the world? Businesses today, they all struggle between automatization and personalization. I don't know, Alan, whether Tripomatic brings any competition to you. Maybe it does, maybe it does not. Whether Airbnb is in competition with Hilton hotel chain. It's all new technologies, we get all these disruptors. But I will conclude with something that Robert Pirsig said in the book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Buddha exists in the nature as much as it exists in the motorcycle machine. So I think that we need to find the common ground. And thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next event. And now greet our guests with a tremendous applause.